Hi students, welcome to VerandaRace, and today we are going to study the chapter Pronouns. So let us begin with the learning objectives. So what we are going to learn today, we are going to learn the definition of pronouns, learn the types of pronouns, to learn some rules related to pronouns and solve some exercises based on pronouns. So before I move ahead, let me describe the word pronoun. There are two ways to understand the word pronoun. One is proxy to noun and another is like noun. Pro means like someone. So he's pro some party, political party. So he's like that. He has the same belief system, same ideology. So proxy, you must remember when you were in school days, many a times students used to bunk classes in college days, maybe not in school days. That was too early. So when you say, okay, I'll mark your proxy. Proxy means in the place of you, I'll make your attendance made. That way, proxy to noun is pronoun and pronoun means like a noun. So in that way, so with this learning objectives, let us move ahead and see the introduction to the word pronoun. A pronoun is a word that functions as a substitute for a noun. We cannot say John is a good boy, John lives in Delhi, John works very hard. We can say John is a good boy, he lives in Delhi, he works very hard. So we need not repeat the noun again after again. Okay, I've used the wrong sentence. We cannot repeat something again and again. Repeat already means doing something again and again. So we cannot repeat the word noun each time. Well, pronouns are often used to refer to a noun that has already been mentioned. So pronoun is used to refer to a noun which has already been mentioned. There can be many manifestations of the noun, different like I, we, he, she, it, they, them, me, us, him, her, hers, ours, many manifestations of the noun. So these are known as pronouns. So pro plus noun typically means in place of, instead of a noun or a noun phrase. So basically, a pronoun is a word which is used in the place of a noun or a noun phrase. I asked my mother if she would lend me some money, but she said no. So I won't say I asked my mother if my mother would lend me some money, but my mother said no. We cannot use like that. So there's a replacement of the word mother which is done by she. So she is a pronoun. Clear? Okay. Moving ahead. So there are types of pronouns. One is personal pronoun. So what are personal pronouns? So personal means related to persons, people. I. When I say I, I'm talking about myself. So I, the person speaking, becomes the first person. You are a good boy. So the person spoken to, that is you, becomes the second person. And he is not a good boy. The person spoken about or the person spoken of, who is not present here, is the third person. The person speaking, the person spoken to, and the person spoken of. These three are first, second, and third person. So if we talk about personal pronouns, they are subjective pronouns like I, we, you, he, she, it, they. These all are subjective pronouns, subjective personal pronouns. Then there are objective personal pronouns like me, us, you, him, her, it, them. Then there are possessive pronouns. What are possessive pronouns? Mine, ours, yours, his, hers, its, theirs, one's. These are possessive personal pronouns. And then comes possessive determiners, which are placed in adjective chapter as well and placed in pronoun chapter as well. For example, my, your, his, her, its, are, their, ones. These are placed in both categories. These, the lowest ones, I'm talking about this possessive determiners. They can, because I told you that determiners are those words which have multiple functions in different sentences. That's why they are known as possessive determiners. My, your, his, they are pronouns as well and they are adjectives as well. So they are determiners. Clear? These are personal pronouns: subjective, objective, possessive, and possessive determiners. Possessive pronouns and possessive determiners. Clear? Moving ahead, we were discussing the types of pronouns. The next is reflexive pronouns. Reflexive pronouns end in self or selves, they refer back to the subject forms of personal pronouns. So reflexive pronouns are those pronouns which are used to refer back to the subject. So when the subject and the object are the same person, then we use the reflexive pronoun. For example, myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, oneself, ourselves, yourselves, and themselves. SELF is added to the main subjective case pronoun. Not necessarily, I would say. Sometimes possessive case, himself, herself, itself, oneself, or yourselves, SELVAS. This way, the reflexive pronoun is made. Reflexive pronoun is used when the subject and the object of the verb refer to the same person or thing. That's what I said. The subject and the object refer to the same person or thing. They are known as reflexive pronouns. She made herself a cup of tea and sat down in front of the television. Made herself. He cut himself while shaving. So he cut himself. He is the subject. He is the object. He cut himself. He hurt himself while driving. He, the subject, himself, the object, means he is the object itself. The action reflects on the doer itself. In that case, we use reflexive pronouns. Clear? First was personal pronouns, subjective, objective, possessive, and possessive determiners. Next comes reflexive pronouns, which we have discussed. Moving ahead, there are some details about reflexive pronouns. So, reflexive pronouns for its emphasis or intensive pronoun. It's also known as intensive pronoun or emphatic pronouns. So what are these? These have the same form as that of the reflexive pronoun, but they are used for emphasis, or they are known as intensive pronoun. For example, we don't use reflexive pronouns on their own as the subject of a clause, but we can use them with a noun or pronoun to emphasize the subject. They cannot be made the subject of the sentence, but they can be used to emphasize the subject. For example, the director of the company wrote to us himself to apologize for the dreadful service. He himself wrote the letter. The king himself decided to give his verdict. This way, it is used. The reflexive pronoun is used for emphasis, so it's known as intensive pronoun or emphatic pronouns. Clear? Okay, moving ahead. Demonstrative pronouns. Demonstrative pronouns are used to show or identify one or a number of nouns that may be far or near in the distance or time. May be far or near in the distance or time, like this, that, these, those. Near, far. In distance and time. For example, this was my mother's ring. This is demonstrative pronoun for something nearer to us. Singular. That looks like the car I used to drive, for something far away. These, plural, for something nearer to us. These are nice shoes, but they look uncomfortable. These, demonstrative pronoun for something near to us. Those look like riper than the apples on my tree. Clear? So this, that, these, those are demonstrative pronouns. Moving ahead. Indefinite pronouns. So indefinite means not defined to certain noun or not defined to certain audience. So it's known as indefinite pronoun. Not defined exactly. So these pronouns do not point to any particular noun but refer to the things or people in general. Refer to the things or people in general. For example, all. All means everyone. Some, we don't know about whom we are talking. So any, each, anything, anybody, anyone, someone, something, somebody, someone, nothing, nobody, none, no one, etc. These all are indefinite pronouns. Some people. This is adjective. Some of them. Some is an indefinite pronoun. Some of them means we don't know who exactly. So these are known as indefinite pronouns. Clear? Did you notice anything strange about him? Anything. It's a pronoun which is used for a particular entity of the noun, and it's used for anything. So it's an indefinite pronoun. We are not defining the entity. Clear? Moving ahead. Relative pronouns. So relative word basically means related, do the relation part kind of thing. So it's also known as conjunctive pronoun, joining two sentences or clauses or phrases. For example, relative pronouns are used to join or relate. That's why I said relative. Join or relate two different clauses together by referring to the noun in the previous clause. For example, who, whom, whose, which, that. These are relative pronouns, and whenever they are used, there is an antecedent. The word which comes earlier to this is the antecedent. He took out a photo of his son whom he adores. This is known as the antecedent, which comes earlier to this, just prior to this, and this relative pronoun forms a relative clause, and this relative clause describes the antecedent. Simple to understand. This relative pronoun has an antecedent which is described in the relative clause, which is this relative clause. Clear? Moving ahead. Compound relative pronouns. So we know which, whom, who, that are relative pronouns. But when we say whoever, whatever, whichever, whosoever, whatsoever, these are compound relative pronouns. They are also used to join sentences, clauses, or phrases. So please tell whoever may call that I am not available. So this is compound relative pronoun. Clear? Moving ahead. Interrogative pronouns are used to ask questions. These pronouns are used to begin a question. For example, who, whom, which, what, whoever, whomsoever, whichever, whatever. These are known as interrogative pronouns. Which of the deserts did you have? Used to ask a question. So we use this particular pronoun to ask question, known as interrogative pronouns. Clear? Moving ahead. Reciprocal pronoun. Reciprocal means, comes from the word reciprocate. Reciprocate. Reciprocate means showing the same kind of emotion if somebody is trying to show a particular emotion. Reciprocate. So reciprocal pronouns means these pronouns combine ideas. There are just two reciprocal pronouns, each other and one another. Each other and one another. Both these pronouns are plural in nature, as they can only be used in situations where there is more than one noun. For example, if I say the two friends loved each other, the citizens love one another. For two people, each other. Reciprocation, reciprocal. The two companies are in competition with each other, because we are talking about two companies. But if there were more than two companies, we say one another. Clear? Okay, moving ahead. Distributive pronouns. Distributive pronouns. These pronouns refer to individual elements in a group or a pair, one individual at a time. Means they are talking about removing an individual from a group. That's why they are known as distributive pronouns. Means distribution. Talking about distribution. Each, either, neither, any, none. They are known as distributive pronouns. For example, each of the companies supports a local charity. So supports. The verb which is used with the distributive pronouns is always a singular verb. Remember this. In maximum cases. We will discuss some examples in which there can be exceptions, but these distributive pronouns talk about individual entities out of a group. Clear? So moving ahead, let us discuss the rules of pronouns which we have understood till now. Rule number one, the pronouns who, that and which become singular or plural depending on the subject. The pronouns who, that and which become singular or plural depending on the subject. If the subject is singular, use a singular verb. If it is plural, use a plural verb. Most of the students who, the antecedent is the students, study is a plural verb. That's what it was trying to explain. So the relative pronoun who, which or that decides the verb after it according to its antecedent. The antecedent is students, which is plural. So the verb should be plural verb. Most of the students who study, the only student who studies, most of the students who study in these madrasas are first generation learners. Clear? Moving ahead. Distributive pronouns, rule number two, the distributive pronouns such as each, either and neither always take singular verbs in accordance with the subject. I told you, distributive pronouns take a singular verb. Either of us is capable of doing the job. Is. Why is? Because either means either of the two, not both. This or this. He or she. One person. So that's why it takes a singular verb. Clear? Moving ahead. Rule number 3. The words such as yours, Y-O-U-R-S, his, hers, its, ours, theirs and whose, these possessive pronouns will not need apostrophes. Very simple to understand. When you say, it's a concept I'm discussing, its means talking about possession, its value, the value of patriotism, its value. So it's, and if we say it apostrophe s, it means it is. So when we say yours, for example, many people write the letter, like at the end of the letter they say yours faithfully. So we cannot say yours faithfully. It means your is. Your is. What is the meaning of your is? There's no meaning, right? So all these possessive pronouns will not need apostrophe. Yours, his, hers. They're used like in this form only. Clear? His research work is considered revolutionary while hers is risky. We don't use apostrophe s. We don't use apostrophe here. We don't use apostrophe here. No apostrophe is used. No apostrophe is used. Moving ahead to rule number 4. Reflexive pronouns are used when both the subject and the object of a verb are the same person or thing. I told you earlier also, when the subject and the object refer to the same person, we use the reflexive pronouns. Don't use myself unless the pronoun I or me precedes it in the sentence. Means we can use myself, herself, himself only when he, me, or for that matter him precedes in the sentence. For example, more than that, it was a competition which made me push myself. So we cannot use reflexive pronoun for a particular pronoun if the pronoun is not used earlier. The pronoun for which the reflexive pronoun is being used must come earlier than the reflexive pronoun. Simple to understand. So here in the sentence, more than that, it was a competition which made me push myself. This way it must be used. Push myself beyond limits. Clear? Moving ahead. Rule number 5. We don't use possessive pronouns before nouns. Possessive pronouns, not possessive determiners. Incorrect. The feudal system that is ingrained in our society. This is incorrect. It should be our society. The feudal system that is ingrained in our society. See, understand this. We don't use possessive pronouns in front of or before the noun. We use possessive determiners in front of the nouns. Society is responsible for the denial of social justice in the name of caste. Here, moving ahead, rule number 6. We use no one, nobody, nothing and nowhere to refer to an absence of people, things or places. We use them with a singular verb. These are indefinite pronouns, we know that, to denote the absence of something or someone. So, we use them with a singular verb. There was nowhere to park the car. There was. So, it's a strange sentence, right? You'll say, sir, the verb should come after nowhere, right? But it's not like that. The verb comes before nowhere when it starts with there. So there is a certain kind of determiner, which adverb we can say for that matter, which comes earlier and the verb is decided just after that. Placed just after that, and nowhere is preceded by the verb. There is something special. There is something special. Something is an indefinite pronoun. Is comes before something because the sentence starts with there. Clear? Okay. Moving ahead. Rule number 7. We don't use nobody, no one, nothing, nowhere after no, not, never or other words which have a negative meaning. Hardly, seldom. We use anyone, anybody, anything, anywhere. Very important rule. So when we use hardly or seldom or scarcely for that matter, we don't use nobody, no one, nothing, nowhere after these words. We use anyone, anybody, anything, anywhere. I can't do nothing. This is incorrect. I can't do anything because can't means cannot. So it should be followed by anything. Seldom did he do anything, not seldom did he do nothing. Scarcely had he completed nothing. Scarcely had he completed anything when the rain started. This way. Clear? Okay, moving ahead. So some question, exercise. Let us start the exercises. At present, dash are 9 staff members in the Kolkata office. At present are, okay, see there, the 9 staff members comes after the verb. So here it should be an adverb. Basically, the verb is preceded by the adverb, should be there. At present, there are 9 staff members in the Kolkata office. Clear? There are. Not that are, it are, they are, who are. They all are irrelevant options. Moving ahead. I've already told you the rule, right? There are 9 members, something, someone. This way, we use are or is just after there, and after that any indefinite pronoun or a definite numeral adjective is placed. Okay. She made dash a cup of tea and sat down in front of the television. She made herself. Reflexive pronoun. I think this was a part of the examples as well. She made herself a cup of tea. So she is the subject and she is the object of making the cup of tea. Okay, moving ahead. Dash mustard plants we have planted will spread in no time. These mustard plants? No. Okay, wait. Mustard plants, it is plural. So it is wrong. Whose, because there is no question mark. Which is no question mark. They mustard plants doesn't make a sense. These mustard plants, because these is a demonstrative adjective over here. These is a demonstrative adjective which describes the mustard plants, qualifies the mustard plants. So these should be placed here. Clear? Because it's a plural entity, so these will be the best thing available. Moving ahead. I had an uncle in Germany from dash. I inherited a bit of money. Okay. So we are talking about a subject coming after a blank. A subject coming after a blank. So I inherited a bit of money, and the uncle is the object. So it should be whom. Whom, because the antecedent becomes the uncle, who is the receiver of the action. See, I had an uncle in Germany from whom I inherited a bit of money. So I becomes the subject. So whom is the best option over here. Clear? Relative pronoun. Moving ahead. They complete dash sentences too literally. Okay. Here it is not specified whether there are 2 people or more than 2. But the best option is this one. They complete on other sentences too literally. Doesn't make a sense. They complete which sentences doesn't make a sense. Whose sentence? That. So each other, let us assume that they are 2 people. So each other means one completes the sentence of other. One person completes the sentence of the other. So in this way, each other is the best option available. They complete each other's sentences too literally. Literally means really. In fact. Moving ahead. Okay, now it's a sentence improvement kind of question. Yesterday was mentioned that, the whole amounts which the farmers need to pay as crop loans is rupees 72,000 crore. The Adani group itself owes to the banks rupees 72,000 crore, he said. Okay, very easy question. Yesterday is an adverb placed over here, and after that a complete statement has been mentioned. So this complete sentence has to be represented by a pronoun. It. So yesterday it was mentioned there. It was mentioned. So it is what? That. This particular part is a noun phrase which must be represented by a pronoun which is it. So yesterday it was mentioned that the entire amount, that this is a correct answer. So I'll read it for you. Yesterday, it was mentioned that the entire amount that the farmers need to pay as crop loans is rupees 70,000 crores. Clear? This is the answer. Moving to the next question. For all of them whole you have mentioned, it is the process which is more important and exciting. For all of the rules where you have no, for each of the rules that you has, for each rule all the rules that you have, this is the correct answer. I'll tell you why. If I answer some question, I'll give justification to the question, to the answer. For all the rules. So this is the noun which is defined by all, the adjective. For all the rules that you have mentioned. That is the relative pronoun. Before it, the roles have come, the antecedent, and then it describes you have mentioned. So for all the rules that you have mentioned, it is the process which is more important and exciting. This is the correct answer. Clear? Moving ahead. The existing coaches, some of which does not. So it's talking about coaches, right? So it should be not be does, it should be do. It should be do. Some of which do. Because it's coaches, we can use which. So this is the correct answer. The existing coaches, some of which do not have even air conditioning facility. For coaches is a common gender noun, so we can use which for them. Clear? Okay, moving ahead. Gandhi made it a tablecloth. It should be simple. Gandhi made a tablecloth because made is a transitive verb and does not require two objects after it. Gandhi made a tablecloth. Mountbatten sent to Princess Elizabeth with this note. This you lock up with the crown jewels. This is the correct answer. C. Moving ahead. With art and music play their part, can food be far behind? Okay. With is a preposition. Art and music are objects of the preposition. Then it must be followed by a gerund, which should be playing their part. With art and music playing their part, plus one more thing. There is the correct form of the pronoun which should be used, because their art and music are two entities. So it should be followed by a pronoun which represents plural entity. So it cannot be there. This is incorrect. This is an adverb. So it should be followed by there. THEIR, which is the pronoun, plural pronoun of possessive case. Basically possessive determiner. That way we can use this. Otherwise music played that parts. All other options are irrelevant. There is the correct possessive determiner, and part is a noun, so it can be placed after that. Part can be placed after there. This is the correct answer. Moving ahead. Even hostels as far as nice and anti-bis can set you back by a month's rent of a 3 BHK flat in South Bombay. What with prices shooting up by 500% in the film season? No error. There's no error in this question, because I'll tell you why. Even hostels as far as nice and anti-bis, two hostels are being mentioned, can set you back by a month's rent of a 3 BHK flat in South Bombay. What with prices? What with prices shooting up by 500% in the film season? No error in this question. Is it because someone are playing? Someone is again an indefinite pronoun of singular number, so it should be followed by is. Single entity. Is it because someone is playing you to campaign against it, or is it because you believe agriculture ought to be done the way it was before the 1900s? So someone is a singular entity, so it should be followed by is. Clear? Moving ahead. Why would they leave if they hadn't done nothing? Why would they leave if they hadn't? Hadn't means had not done, so it should be anything. Anything. Why would they leave if they had not done anything? Ideally, they should support us, said a close relative Chandrapal. This is the correct answer. Nothing tear down an employer brand as fast as a poor employee experience. Nothing is again an indefinite pronoun showing negation, absence of something, so it should be singular. Nothing tears down. So error is in part A. In this question, error was in part B. So you understand that, right? When I mark there and explain it, it's an error, right? Moving ahead. Organizations also need to put in place gender diverse policies that support men who have one's family commitments or wish to work from home. Organizations also need to put in place gender diverse policies that support, see, that is relative pronoun, policies is plural, so support is plural verb, no problem. Men who have one's family, men who have their family, T-H-E-I-R, because it's men. The antecedent is men, so it should be their family, not one's family. One's is an indefinite pronoun of the possessive case. So here it should be men followed by their, because it's a plural entity and we are talking about plural possessive determiner. Clear? Okay. He will be able to narrow down the literary influences on Veera Mamunivar and understand how he used words to its best effect. Words, see, words, we're talking about words, so it should be not its best effect, it should be their, T-H-E-I-R, possessive determiner, plural of plural number, their effect, because words are plural, so to their best effect, to their best effect. So something to its best effect means the best use of that particular resource. Clear? Okay, moving ahead. There is no better learning than to experience things for your. Okay, there is no better learning than to experience things for yours. This should be the correct use. Wait. There is no better learning than to experience things for you or yours. Let us explore this question, because the question says there is no better learning than to experience things for you, yours, yourself. Yes. It should be yourself. It's good that we sometimes introspect and learn something. So that is experience things for yourself. There can be no better learning than to experience something about yourself, for yourself. This is the correct answer. Third, it could negotiate the main FTA without an ISDS provision, but makes ISDS provisions a subject matter of an optional protocol, provided this are permitted under EU law. We are talking about of an optional protocol. So it should be this is permitted. This is permitted. Okay, wait. Because third, it could negotiate the main FTA without an ISDS provision, fine, but make ISDS provisions a subject matter of an optional protocol, provided this, so it talks about these provisions, so it should be these are permitted under EU law. These are will be the correct answer. Moving ahead. All work done in ICAR is recorded and reported, and if it's good enough, it's apostrophe S, if it is good enough. We're talking about it is good enough. Published in peer-reviewed journals. It is. We're not talking about possession. We're talking about it is. He was very contemptuous of popular writers, which he described as having no talent. Whom? Which is not the correct relative pronoun over here, which is used for objects. So it should be whom he described. Whom. This should be the correct relative pronoun. Because the antecedent is writer, popular writers, so the relative pronoun should be whom or who for that matter, because we are talking about people, right? But we cannot use which, because which is used for objects. Next question. Maybe dash reliable has told you he is not to be trusted. Maybe that reliable, maybe anything reliable, someone reliable, because reliable can be people only, right? People can be reliable, not things can be reliable. Neither is used for two people. One reliable doesn't mean anything, so someone reliable. So this will be the correct answer. Maybe someone reliable has told you he is not to be trusted. Moving ahead. Perhaps dash individual has let you down or cheated you in the past. Maybe perhaps whose individual? No. Those individuals. Okay, if it were those, we would have individuals. That's incorrect. When individual has, if it were when, then it would have some extra part in the sentence. When individual had cheated you, then you would have done this. So that's not correct. That's not correct. Perhaps their individual. So this is the answer. This individual, because this is singular. So we need a demonstrative adjective which is this, not these, not there, not when, not those, not whose. This is the correct answer. Why am I saying this as a demonstrative adjective? Because it's a determiner. Because it's placed before a noun. This is a good book. This is demonstrative pronoun. But when we say this individual, it becomes a demonstrative adjective. Because placed before a noun. Moving ahead. In general, one could say that the literature was not understood even by dash who wrote it. Even by them, those who wrote it. Because who is a relative pronoun followed by the verb. So it should be preceded by those. Because those who wrote it is the correct structure. Even by those who wrote it, not by them who wrote it. So them is incorrect, and these options are totally out of context. Them could have been an answer, but it's a confusing question. We use those with those who wrote it, those who did that, all these things. Fine. Moving ahead. Dash house was used in the film Aranamanai. Okay, dash house was used in the film Aranamanai. Okay. It's a question mark. So whose is the correct answer? These cannot be placed. This is the correct answer. Whose house was used? Because a question mark is there and we need a possessive pronoun over here. So whose is a possessive pronoun, interrogative pronoun. Kind of possessive interrogative pronoun, because house is a noun, so it should be preceded by whose. Whose house? Because the question mark, right? Okay. Moving ahead. Exercises. Please excuse me being late. Okay, see, this is a gerund. Being is a gerund. Whenever a gerund is there and it is preceded by a pronoun, it should be in the possessive case. Possessive case. So it should be my. Please excuse my being late. So the error was in part C. He was very contemptuous of popular writers whom he described as having no talent. Whom? Correct? Okay. These include the king cobra and myself. Okay. These means talking about people, right? These include the king cobra and I, because these include the king cobra and I, Secrets of the King Cobra, National Geographic Channel and Asia. Okay, it's a book's name, right? The king cobra and I. In this way, a documentary's name or a book's name, so it should be the king cobra and I, not king cobra and myself. Moving ahead. The framers of the constitution did not include the words secular and socialist because this values, okay, values. So it should be preceded by these, not by this, because values is plural. So it should be preceded by these and not this. Clear? These values were part of Indian civilization, said Mr. Singh. Okay. When two individuals have a good rapport with each other, fine, two individuals, each other, it means that they get along very well because they understand us. Us shouldn't be correct. When two individuals have a good rapport with each other, it means that they get along very well because they understand each other. Either we can use each other or we can use themselves. Themselves is also correct, each other is also correct. They understand themselves. Fine. Ourselves see nothing. We see nothing. We see nothing. Is the correct use. We see nothing because it starts the sentence. The subject of the verb, it should be we. We see nothing wrong in advertising for fair brides, calling our own citizens from the Northeast and South India names. Clear? It should be we. Moving ahead. The poor victim is neither taken to the police station nor given a chance to prove their innocence. Okay, poor victim, one person, singular. So how come we can use their? It should be his. Victim is somebody who is a person, so we'll use his innocence. We can also use her innocence, but we'll prefer using his. I'm not being chauvinistic, but this is how we use in grammar. So the poor victim is neither taken to the police station nor given a chance to prove his innocence. Okay. He said the CWC should have sacked Kiran for shamelessly laughing at separatist leader ZAZ Devyani's alleged remarks that India was in control of Kashmir due to its army. He said that the CWC should have sacked Kiran for shamelessly laughing He said the CWC should have sacked Kiran for shamelessly laughing at separatist leader ZAS Devyani's alleged remarks that India was in control of. No error, students. There is no error. Generally, it's a very strange thing with me that when I take a lot of time in a question, it comes out to be a no error. Okay, moving ahead. Baksinski didn't let hers guard down. Let her guard down. Okay, it should be her, not hers. Let her guard down after the break and held serve twice to win the set 6-4. So it should be possessive determiner, guard down. This will be the verb. So it should be let her guard down. Fine. Okay. Murli Prasad fell off his bicycle while at work one day and broke his limbs in the accident. Murli Prasad fell off his bicycle while at work one day and broke his limbs in the accident. No error. We tend to forget they, those. I told you those is the correct structure. We tend to forget those. Generally what happens, before this an infinitive or a verb is there, we forget those who help us. A verb or an infinitive is there. Those who have helped us during our bad times. Clear? Moving ahead. You might have heard of a speaker at a condolence meeting became a laughing. Okay, there's an error over here. You might have heard of a speaker at a condolence meeting who became a laughing stock when he said perspired instead of expired and unique personality instead of a unique personality. This was the error. Here should be you who, because this became should be preceded by who. That describes the entire thing after it. Who became a laughing stock and all. Fine. However, our effort will continue to make tourists feel safe in Kashmir and help you have the best memories. However, our effort will continue to make tourists feel safe in Kashmir and help them, because we are talking about tourists, so how it can be you? It should be them, and help them have the best memories. However, our effort will continue to make tourists feel safe in Kashmir and help them have the best memories. Clear, students? Okay. Meanwhile, Mr. Kareem, who has been skipping party meetings on election preparations, refused on Tuesday to comment on one's possible return to the PPP. Not once, his. We are talking about Mr. Kareem, so it should be his possible return, not once. Once is used for indefinite pronoun. One should keep one's promises. One should respect one's parents. But we are talking about Mr. Kareem, who we know is a human being, a male person. So we'll use his for him. Obviously, we use one for human beings. But here, for Mr. Kareem, we will use his or he for that matter. Clear? Okay, now students, let us do some words. Let us learn some words. We have 3 to 5, 10. 10 words are there. So first word is August. So you think that August means the month August, July, August. No, not that. August means very respected person and very venerable person. Venerable, learn a new word. Venerable, respected. Venerable, respected. He is an august man. Very respected man. Very venerable man. Okay. Baroque means very colorful and bright. Ostentatious, bright and colorful. So I will use the word bright. B-R-I-G-S-T, bright. Okay. Then next is bastion. Bastion means a very strong defense. I will use the word bulwark. I'll use the word bulwark. B-U-L-L-W-A-R-K, bulwark. B-U-L-L-W-A-R-K, bulwark. A strong defense, bastion. August means venerable. Baroque means bright and colorful. Bastion means bulwark or strong defense. Intransigent means one who is not ready to change himself. Very stubborn person. Obstinate. One who is not ready to change himself. Very obstinate person, stubborn person is known as intransigent. Relentless. Adamant. Relentless. Adamant. Stubborn is the correct word for this. Intransigent is the Stubborn is the best word. Stubborn. Okay. Beholden. Beholden means indebted or obligated, obliged. If I am beholden to you means I am obliged to you, obligated towards you. So it's like obliged or obligated. So we have done all these words. Next, move to the next words. Besmirch. Besmirch means to malign someone. Malign means to criticize someone in a way so that he is degraded or he is demeaned. His value is devalued. Okay. Bestial is like a beast. Just like a beast. An animal. Like a beast or an animal is bestial. Betrothed means engaged for marriage. Engaged for marriage. Betrothed. Blighted means rotten. Rotten or not proper. For example, blighted potatoes are there. They are rotten or they are very old and they are not proper. And last is copious. Copious means abundant. Abundant in amount, quantity. Very much in quantity or amount. Copious, generally for quantity. Otherwise, if we talk about number, we have umpteen, myriad, these words are there. Myriad, M-Y-R-I-A-D. For copious, it's abundant. So copious means abundant. Blighted means rotten. Betrothed means engaged to be married. Bestial means like a beast. Besmirch means to malign someone, demean someone, loathe someone. Beholden means obligated, obliged or obligated and obliged towards someone. Intransigent means stubborn, obstinate, adamant, relentless. Bastion means strong defense, bulwark. Baroque means bright and colorful and florid. And august means venerable and respected. So students, let us summarize today's session. What we learned today. We learned pronouns, types of pronouns, rules related to pronouns, exercises based on pronouns, and 10 high frequency words. I hope you enjoyed today's session. Thank you.
ஃபாரின்ல படிச்சாதான் பெரிய ஆளாக முடியும்னு இல்ல, நம்ம ஒரு வெராண்டால படிச்சாலே போதும். VerandaRace வங்கி மற்றும் அரசு தேர்வுகளுக்கான ஆன்லைன் பயிற்சி.